Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters in Christ, if you are under the sound of my voice today, I want you to understand something deep, something divine, something that may just explain why your life looks the way it does. You see, when God marks a person, he doesn't always make it obvious, but he always makes it undeniable. I came to tell somebody today, you're not crazy, you're not cursed, you're not just going through stuff, you're marked. And when you're marked by God, it changes everything. You try to fit in, but something always feels off. You go to the same places, hang out with the same people, try to laugh at the same jokes, but deep inside, there's a disconnection. You can't explain it, but you sense it. That's because when you are marked by God, the world no longer feels like home. You've been set apart. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to stand out. There's a divine fingerprint on your life. And it won't allow you to get comfortable in places that contradict your calling. It's not that you don't want to belong. You do. We all do. But no matter how much you try, something keeps pushing you out of the crowd. You get invited, but something tells you not to go. You try to engage in the conversation, but your spirit feels heavy. You want to laugh with them, but your soul doesn't agree. That's because your spirit is responding to your destiny. And when God marks you, he begins to separate you, even before you fully understand why. You notice it in your relationships. People who used to click with you suddenly drift away. Friendships that were once tight begin to feel strained. You try to fix it, but nothing works. It's not rejection. It's redirection. God is pruning your life because your next level requires a new circle. He's not punishing you, he's preparing you. He knows that where he's taking you, not everyone can go. So instead of mourning the disconnection, start recognizing the protection. You'll see it in your conscience too. Things you used to do without a second thought now weigh heavy on you. That old habit, that compromising behavior, it doesn't sit right anymore. You try to ignore it, but conviction rises up like a fire in your chest. That's not guilt, that's grace. That's the Holy Spirit whispering, you're better than this. It's God's way of reminding you that you don't belong to this world. You've been bought with a price. Your soul knows it even if your mind is still catching up. Even your success feels different. You might achieve something great, but the celebration is short-lived. While others are satisfied, you still feel a pull for more. You're grateful, but not fulfilled. You smile, but deep down, there's a whisper saying, this isn't it. That's because God didn't call you to settle in the comfort of human approval. He marked you for kingdom purpose. And until you start walking in that purpose, nothing will fully satisfy you. There's a loneliness that often comes with being marked, not because you're alone, but because you're not aligned. You're around people, but you don't feel connected. You're in the room, but your spirit is somewhere else. And the truth is that separation is sacred. God uses seasons of isolation to bring revelation. When he pulls you away from the noise, it's because he wants to speak to you clearly. Don't resent the loneliness. It's proof that he's calling you deeper. Being marked by God isn't glamorous. It's uncomfortable. It's misunderstood, but it's necessary because before God uses you publicly, he will always separate you privately. He will break the pattern, shift the environments, and realign your heart. He'll do whatever it takes to position you for what he's prepared. And the first sign that he's doing that work is this: you no longer fit where you used to. So don't panic. Don't fight it. Don't try to force yourself to stay where God is moving you from. That disconnect you're feeling, that discomfort you're carrying, it's not punishment, it's preparation. You've been set apart. You've been chosen. You've been marked. You've been through things that would have crushed someone else. You've walked through fire and somehow made it out without the smell of smoke. When you are marked by God, your pain is never wasted. Every trial, every heartbreak, every season of suffering has been shaping you, molding you, preparing you for something greater than you can see right now. It's easy to look at your scars and feel shame, but those scars are not signs of defeat. They're signs of survival. They are the evidence that God's hand has been on your life even when you didn't realize it. There were moments when you felt like giving up, moments where the weight of life seemed too heavy to bear. You were surrounded by darkness, confusion, and silence. You cried out and heard nothing. You prayed and nothing changed. But somehow, some way, you made it through. And it wasn't your strength, it wasn't your wisdom, it wasn't your connections. It was the grace of God carrying you when you didn't even know he was there. That kind of endurance doesn't come from the world. It comes from being marked. See, people look at you now and don't realize the battles you fought just to stand where you are. They see your smile, but not your struggle. They hear your testimony, but not your tears. But God saw it all. He was there in the midnight hour. He was there when you were broken and nobody knew. And what you didn't realize is that those trials were not just hardships. They were heavenly tools. God was using the fire to refine you, to strip away what wasn't needed, to strengthen what was weak, to reveal what was real. Because when God marks you, he doesn't just bless you, he builds you. He doesn't just elevate you, he equips you. And sometimes that equipping comes through affliction. Sometimes the only way to teach faith is through pressure. Sometimes the only way to grow character is through challenge. And the reason the fire didn't consume you is because it was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to develop you. Think back on the things you thought you wouldn't survive. Those were divine assignments, not punishments, but processes. The betrayal, it taught you to trust God, not people. The delay, it trained you in patience. The loss, it revealed your dependence. The pain, it sharpened your purpose. You don't come out of that kind of fire the same way you went in. You come out different. You come out deeper. You come out marked. And here's the thing, when you've been through that kind of fire, you walk differently. You speak with more authority. You carry a weight in the spirit that can't be faked or manufactured, because real anointing is expensive. It costs something. And you've paid the price in tears, in silence, in wilderness seasons that nobody but God saw. But that's what sets you apart. That's why you can't compare your journey to someone else's. You weren't just going through trials, you were going through transformation. God was using every storm to carve something eternal into your soul. And now you're walking proof of what it looks like to survive hell and still have heaven in your heart. There's something different about the doors that open for you. You walk into places you didn't have the credentials for. You sit at tables you weren't invited to by people. You were seated there by favor. While others struggle to gain recognition, you find yourself seen, chosen, and elevated even when you feel unqualified. That's not coincidence. That's not luck. That's divine favor following you like a shadow. When you're marked by God, his hand opens doors that your resume can't explain. It's not about who you know on earth. It's about who knows you in heaven. People will look at your life and try to figure out how you got there. They'll try to trace your steps, replicate your process, copy your methods. But what they don't realize is that favor is not about formulas. It's about God's fingerprint. It's something you can't earn, can't manipulate, can't manufacture. When God decides to bless you, no one can block you. His favor bypasses protocol and cuts through red tape. It overrides rejection letters and rewrites outcomes. That's what happens when you're marked. You get what others call impossible. You weren't the smartest, you weren't the most talented, you didn't have the right connections, but somehow things aligned in your favor. That's because God's favor isn't based on your merit, it's based on his mercy. He'll use your weaknesses as a stage for his strength. He'll allow others to overlook you just so he can prove that promotion doesn't come from people, it comes from him. When you are marked, you live in a flow of grace that can't be logically explained. You'll know you're walking in divine favor when doors swing open without you even knocking, when opportunities chase you down, when people are drawn to you and they don't even know why, when resources show up just in time. You were marked for this. And not because of who you are, but because of whose you are. You're a carrier of kingdom purpose, and heaven's favor travels with that assignment. But favor isn't just about elevation. It's also about responsibility. When you've been given much, much is required. The favor on your life is not for flaunting, it's for fulfilling God's will. It's a tool, not a trophy. It's meant to build the kingdom, not your ego. And God will keep favor flowing as long as your heart stays in position. Humility is the container that holds divine favor. The moment pride creeps in, the flow gets blocked. Because God resists the proud, but gives grace to the humble. You may also notice that favor attracts criticism. People will start to question how you got where you are. They'll try to find flaws, dig up your past, minimize your accomplishments. Don't be surprised. Favor is often misunderstood, but don't waste time explaining what God is doing in your life. Let the fruit speak for itself. When you're marked, your life becomes your testimony. Your success becomes a sermon. Your progress becomes proof that God is real. The truth is, God's favor doesn't make life perfect, but it does make the impossible possible. It doesn't mean you won't face resistance, but it does mean you'll have supernatural backing. Favor doesn't eliminate struggle, but it guarantees victory. Because when God puts his hand on your life, no weapon formed against you will prosper. So when things start aligning in your life in ways you can't explain, don't question it. Just thank God for it. You didn't hustle your way here. You didn't manipulate your way in. You were carried by favor. That's the mark of God. You are walking proof that grace opens doors effort can't. And that favor follows those who are called according to his purpose. There's something inside you that won't let you settle. Even when things are going well on the surface, deep down you know you were created for more. You try to be satisfied, but contentment never lasts long. You achieve one goal, and immediately your spirit starts reaching for the next. That's not ambition, it's assignment. It's not ego, it's purpose. When you are marked by God, there's a divine pull inside of you that will let you get comfortable in me. You've been wired for something eternal, and nothing temporary will ever be enough. You can be surrounded by people who are happy with just getting by, But you can't rest there. You can try to blend in, but the more you do, the more restless your spirit becomes. That's because what's in you is bigger than what's around you. God has deposited something on the inside of you that keeps calling you forward. It's a divine agitation, a holy dissatisfaction. You can't explain it, but you can't ignore it either. That's the sign that you've been marked. You find yourself dreaming about things that seem out of reach. You see visions of impact that far outweigh your current resources. You get ideas that stretch your faith and scare your logic. But that's what happens when God puts destiny inside of you. He doesn't speak to where you are, he speaks to where you're going. And when you're marked, your inner world will always outgrow your outer world. The life you see in your spirit is a preview of the purpose you were born to fulfill. Other people might look at your life and tell you to be satisfied. You have enough, they'll say. Why are you still pushing? But they don't understand you're not chasing success, you're chasing obedience. You're not hungry for status, you're hungry for assignment. When you are marked, ordinary life will never feel like enough. You weren't designed to just exist. You were created to influence, to build, to serve, to lead. And until you start moving in that direction, there will always be a void in your soul. Sometimes that pull toward purpose shows up as frustration. You get irritated with the routine, agitated with the average. You look around and think, this can't be all there is. That's not you being ungrateful. It's your spirit reminding you that you were made for more, and God will let you feel the weight of that dissatisfaction to get you moving. He will stir up discomfort to push you into destiny, because purpose doesn't start with clarity. It often starts with restlessness. You'll also notice that you have a burden for things other people ignore. You're moved by injustice. You're stirred by brokenness. You feel compelled to act where others walk by. That's because your calling is tied to your compassion. God uses what breaks your heart to reveal what you were created to heal. When you're marked, you carry sensitivity to the things that reflect your assignment. And that burden is not a curse, it's a clue. It's God saying, this is where I want to use you. But here's the challenge. Being marked doesn't mean you'll have all the answers. In fact, the more you pursue purpose, the more uncertain it can feel. But that's part of the journey. God doesn't give you the full map, he gives you the next step. And when you take that step in faith, he meets you there. The pull you feel is proof that he's already gone ahead of you. Your job is to follow that pull, even when the path isn't clear. When you're marked by God, the comfort zone becomes your enemy. He won't let you stay in what's familiar when he's called you to what's fruitful. So if you feel like something more is calling you, if you feel like there's another level waiting on you, pay attention. That's a whisper of destiny. It's the tug of heaven. That's the unmistakable pull of purpose. There's something strange that starts happening when you say yes to God. The moment you begin walking toward your calling, all hell seems to break loose. The attacks come harder, the pressure gets heavier, and life doesn't get easier. It gets more intense. That's not a coincidence. That's not bad luck. That's warfare. Because when you are marked by God, the enemy marks you too. The moment heaven identifies you, hell assigns resistance. But that resistance isn't a sign you're doing something wrong. It's often proof that you're doing something right. Spiritual warfare shows up in subtle and not so subtle ways. Things that used to flow now feel like a fight. People who used to support you suddenly turn against you. Your emotions become unstable. Your thoughts are under attack. You feel like you're being hit from every side, and you don't even know why. But you need to understand something deeper. You're not just being attacked because of where you are. You're being attacked because of where you're going. The enemy sees what's on your life. He sees the calling, the anointing, the potential, and he's threatened by it. You're not just going through trouble. You're going through transformation, and transformation always attracts opposition. The enemy doesn't attack people who pose no threat. If he's coming at you hard, it's because he knows that when you walk in your assignment, chains are going to break. Lives are going to change. Light is going to push out darkness. He wants to wear you down before you can rise up. He wants to distract you, discourage you, and delay you. But what he doesn't realize is that every hit he throws is only sharpening your sword. There are days you'll want to quit. Days when you question if it's worth it. Days when it feels like the fight is too much. And that's exactly why you've got to recognize this as more than a natural struggle. It's a spiritual battle. Ephesians 6:12 reminds us, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world. Your fight isn't with people. It's not with circumstances. It's with an invisible enemy who is terrified of what you carry. But here's the truth. Being marked by God doesn't mean you won't face warfare. It means you've already been given victory in the midst of it. You're not fighting for victory. You're fighting from it. The enemy may come in like a flood, but the Spirit of the Lord will lift up a standard against him. God doesn't promise a life without battle, but he does promise that no weapon formed against you shall prosper. The weapon may form, but it will not win. And even in the middle of the battle, God is building something in you. He's developing your endurance. He's strengthening your faith. He's teaching your hands to war and your fingers to fight. Every challenge is making you wiser. Every storm is making you stronger. Every opposition is turning into opportunity. The warfare isn't stopping your calling, it's unlocking it. You also notice that right before a major breakthrough, the intensity of the warfare increases. That's because the enemy knows what's about to happen. He senses the shift. He sees the angels moving. He knows your next step is going to be powerful. So he throws everything he has in hopes that you'll stop short. But this is not the time to back down. This is the time to press in. Because when the warfare heats up, it's a sign that the blessing. So if you're under attack, don't panic, praise. Don't retreat, rise. You're not being punished, you're being positioned. The presence of warfare is the confirmation that you're marked. And if God marked you, then he's also equipped you to overcome every obstacle in your way. There's a weight you carry that others can't see, a responsibility that lives in your spirit, not because you chose it, but because it chose you. You feel called to things you didn't volunteer for. You're drawn to lead, to serve, to speak, to move, even when you feel unqualified. That's the tension of being marked by God. He doesn't wait until you feel ready. He calls you in your weakness so that his strength can be revealed through you. And when he places a calling on your life, he doesn't take a vote. He assigns it. And then he starts shaping you for it. You feel it in moments of stillness. Something inside you will let you rest until you take the next step. And even when fear rises up, there's a fire in you that keeps burning. You try to stay behind the scenes, but your gift keeps pulling you forward. You try to stay quiet, but there's a word in your spirit that won't stay silent. You try to convince yourself you're not good enough, but God keeps reminding you of what he placed in you. That's the call. And when you're marked, the call doesn't leave you alone. God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. He chooses the least expected to do the most extraordinary things. Think of Moses, who had a stutter, yet was called to speak to Pharaoh. Think of David, a shepherd boy, anointed to be king. Think of Jeremiah, who said he was too young, and yet God told him, before you were formed in the womb, I knew you and set you apart. When you're marked, your resume doesn't matter. Your yes doesn't. And that yes doesn't come without cost. There are sacrifices. There are lonely seasons. There are moments of doubt. But there's also glory in the obedience. There's power in the surrender. Because every time you say yes, heaven backs you up. You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to be available. God is not looking for perfect vessels. He's looking for willing ones. And if you're willing, he will fill you, lead you, and send you into places you never imagined going. When you're marked, your life becomes a message. People start watching not just what you say, but how you live. Your character becomes your platform before your calling ever takes center stage. That's why God spends so much time working on the inside of you. He doesn't rush the process because he's not just preparing the promise, he's preparing the person. Before you lead people, you have to learn to follow him. Before you carry influence, you must carry integrity. That's the cost of the call, but it's worth it. There will be moments when the weight of the calling feels too heavy. You will want to walk away. You'll question whether God really chose you, but those are the very moments when his grace shows up strongest. His strength is made perfect in your weakness. And if he called you to it, he will carry you through it. You're not doing this in your own power. You're doing it with divine backing. You've been marked, and heaven has assigned help to your journey. You'll also notice that your call isn't just about you. It's about the people connected to your obedience. Your yes unlocks doors for others. Your voice sets captives free. Your courage gives others permission to rise. That's why you can't quit. That's why you can't sit this one out. Too much is at stake. The call on your life is generational. It's kingdom. And God trusted you with it because he knows what he placed inside of you. When you are marked, the call is inescapable, but so is the grace that comes with it.